Welcome to this week's edition of the Aiming Five Hole podcast, Ryan, and we have some big news on Sunday that has just been announced.
Yeah, this was definitely a WTF kind of Sunday, wasn't it? Like, you see some weird news in the NHL from time to time, but this one
never saw this coming.
This one's bonkers. This one surprises me as much as you calling me in the middle of the week going, "Oh, I'm not watching the Leafs game. I'm watching the Canadiens game."
Yeah.
Like I gotta reread the text twice.
8 games left.
8 games left.
Bruce Cassidy out as coach of the Vegas Knights, and of all coaches for them to go to, Tortorella gets put in.
Oh yeah.
Shocker. Not as much shocker that Cassidy loses his job. Tort's in. Like, they couldn't be any different coach, like miles apart. Tortorella, screamer, yeller, high intensity.
Here's the other thing that you have to think about, right? Like, okay, normally when you have a late season firing, okay, well, first of all, normally when that happens late in the season, it's because this team's way out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I figured the Mercy firing of Berube was going to come before this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, there was a lot of money on Kalshi that went south on that bet, I guess. But what I'd say about this, interestingly, is that, like I said, normally you would put an assistant coach as the interim coach in charge because he's familiar with the system. He's familiar with how the players move around the ice. He's familiar with the locker room. He knows how to talk to people. He just wants to send a different message to inspire the guys and hopefully get that new coach bump for 3-4 games. And in the case of the Vegas Golden Knights, that 4-5 game bump is really important because they're fighting for their playoff lives. So, you figure that happens, they win 3 out of 4 games, and all of a sudden their playoff positioning is a little bit more solid, right? Because they've got, let's see here, they are third in the division with 80 points. The Kings have 76. Only 4 points back
and a game in hand. But I think you nailed it by saying that normally an interim coach ends up being one of the assistant coaches because they know the system and they know the players. But I think that's the problem. This system isn't working because since they've got Anderson, they are 7-14 and 7-15 now and 2.
Right, so the Rasmus Anderson trade you're referring to.
Only teams worse than them in that time span.
Let me guess. Vancouver and the Leafs.
Correct. So the system isn't working. So you're not going to allow what's already behind the bench to take over. They're hoping to catch a little Columbus Blue Jacket magic with bonus coming in and Columbus all of a sudden skyrocketing. They're hoping that they can catch some of that magic in a bottle, lightning in a bottle, whatever you want to call it, to lift them into the playoffs.
Right. So Tortorella comes in, sits 3 veterans in the first game to show who's the boss, starts mussing around with all of the systems and defensive responsibilities and this and that. And this team is going to turn it around in 8 games and get into the playoffs on a high.
But I don't know if you watched.
There's no way.
But I watched the game against the Oilers. I watched a few of their games, parts of their games last week. The system is broken, but they're still out shooting teams. Their goaltending is terrible. Their defensive structure I thought wasn't that bad. Hill is terrible in net, and they got no shot unless they get better goaltending. And they haven't scored. If you were right now, you're Eichel or you're Marner or Stone or some of the other guys on that team, what are you thinking? They're bringing in this guy that's going to start whipping you with 8 games to go?
Stone will take that beautifully. Stone will play for anybody. He'll put himself through a wall for anybody. Mitch Marner with Tortorella is going to be a disaster.
And guess what happened in the game against the Oilers on was it Saturday or Friday night? I can't remember which night it was. It was a playoff style intensity game, lots of physicality. Guess who went missing?
Oh yeah,
Mitch Marner went missing.
Yeah, and that'll
completely invisible in that game.
That'll get him benched or 10th. He under Torts, he will be like the next Matvei Michkov when he gets benched every other game. Here's what I'm predicting. Okay, at best, they put their first round match up to 7 games, but they're going to lose it. They're
Yeah.
not going to win their first round. So here's what I'm going to say, and I'm saying this for the record now. If the Vegas Golden Knights make the conference finals in the Western Conference, I will buy a pair of those hideous gold gloves that they wear.
Yeah, I'm
And that
holding
will
you
be
to
those,
that.
and those will be my go-to
I'm
gloves
holding you
for
to it.
playing hockey for at least a season.
Yeah, I don't think this is something that Tortorella can fix easily. It certainly can't fix in 8 games. And I agree with you. I don't, maybe this keeps
They
them
should
in
have
the,
hired you.
yeah, yeah, right.
At
Maybe
least
this
you're a
keep,
nice guy. You can relate to players. Like there's
yeah,
like
I'd forget it.
except
I
for
started
Marner.
whipping Marner as
Yeah,
well.
no,
But
yeah.
this might
You
get
can
them to
pretend
challenge.
though.
Yeah, this might get them to challenge Edmonton for the second place in the Pacific. But I agree. This doesn't get them past the first round. This could end up being a complete disaster, and this might get them out of the playoffs completely.
This absolutely. You know what? I was thinking this move could be the move that takes LA's third round pick that goes to the Leafs for Scott
Make it a
Laughton and
second.
turns it into a second.
Yeah. Hey, if they do make it and this happens, can we go and ask them for a first?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's just crazy.
it's the story of how John Tortorella got a better draft pick for the Toronto Maple
I
Leafs.
just think McKinnon went, oh my God, we are playing such bad hockey. 3-5-2 in the last 10, giving up way too many goals. Is seeing what's happened in Columbus with bonus, and he went, I got to do something. I know there's 8 games left. I got to turn to somebody and see if I can light a fire under these guys because we got nothing.
Right. And so what he did was he was in a boat that's taking on water.
Yep.
And he pulls out the flare gun because he's got a desperation move, and then he fires it into the bow of the boat
But
and makes another hole in the boat.
here's the problem. If this goes as badly as it could, does it ricochet and hit him in the offseason? And he's gone.
Could be.
And the interesting thing is some of the articles suggested, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know if it's true or not, that Tortorella was only named interim coach. This isn't necessarily a long-term solution.
Of course, it's not a long-term solution.
Well,
Nobody
it could
wants
be a
John
year,
Tortorella
might
as a
be a
long-term
year
coach.
solution anyway, but still.
I think it's a 3-week solution.
Yeah, well, unless the miracle does happen, they get through to the conference final, and then they go, okay, we'll give you the reins for another year or two until
I
he
think they
until
get.
he
I think if he
loses the
gets through to
room.
the conference, I think if he gets through to the conference final, there's still a decent chance they don't even offer them the job.
I,
He's a
I,
relic.
yeah, I still say it's going south, and it could go. I think it's better than 50% odds that it goes the other way. It goes south,
So,
and
and they don't even make the
the Kings
playoffs.
take them, and they don't make the playoffs at all.
Yeah,
And
The
as a
Kings,
Leaf
and the
fan,
Seattle
I
Kraken.
will throw a party
Oh God, would you
to
ever?
watch Mitch Marner miss the playoffs. I don't know which actually I don't know what's going to be more fun to see Mitch Marner miss the playoffs or for him to lose again in the first round. I'm not sure which would be more satisfying.
I think it'd be not to make the playoffs. I mean,
Would it,
well,
but
I'm
wouldn't it
sure
be
you
more
guys play
satisfying
golf.
to
I'm sure you guys play
have them
golf with
make
the
the
same
playoffs,
courses.
him lose in the first round, you go, look at what happened again. He couldn't do it and he disappeared in the playoffs again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he disappeared so much he couldn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah,
That's even
maybe,
better.
maybe. Ugh, what a mess.
Ugh.
What a mess.
I
Let's
can't.
talk.
I've never seen. I did not think the Vegas Golden Knights had a panic move like that in them.
No.
And wow.
Wow. But we were talking about this before we went on air. Um, Knights aren't playing very well right now, but if you look at the complete Western Division conference, the whole conference isn't playing very well right now. They're all kind of cold. Nobody but St. Louis is more than
What,
50 or
500?
one game above 500. Like everybody seems to be in a bit of a slump right now. No one seems to be hitting the gas. Everybody seems to be caught in neutral. Maybe it's because for the most part, the Pacific, the Central Division is really a chase between two teams in terms of second and third and home ice. Colorado's kind of out there. Pacific has been a mess all year. The wild card race is so now. We at one point said that the wild card was between 2 or 3 teams. Now there's 5 teams within 4 points of the wild card race now, all the
Yeah.
way down to St. Louis, who's only 4 points back, and they've got 2 games in hand of the Predators. Now, St. Louis making it is very unlikely because they got to jump four other teams. But I'm just suggesting that there's now five teams in that race, and no one's taking the reins and going, I'm making this. I'm going to make a statement. San Jose's gone cold. Seattle's kind of gone cold, even though Bobby McMahon has scored 7 goals in 8 games since moving over there. So no one has really taken the
Well,
reins and gone, we're gonna take over this.
is it possible that all of these teams in the back of their minds are saying, we're crap, but
Colorado,
everybody
Dallas,
else, but
Minnesota have kind of got this. Let's just
right. But if we want to make the playoffs, like we're crap, but everybody else is crap.
yeah.
Like we can be down, we could be tied in the third period and have no incentive to try to get the extra point in regulation time because it's like as long as we get a point out of this, we're still in the thick of the playoff race because
Yeah.
nobody else is winning either.
Well,
I feel like psychologically there actually could have that happening.
true. There's so many 3-point games happening too right now because of overtime and just shootout.
The last 10 minutes of a meaningful hockey game in the last 3 weeks have been boring AF.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's like nobody wants to make a mistake. The only exceptions that have been to that is when the Canadians were playing the Western Conference teams and decided to turn it on in the last 10 minutes and then absolutely crap the bed.
Your comeback kids. Your comeback kids.
Well, they weren't comeback kids then. They were giving up
Yeah,
important
true.
goals. But but since
Yeah.
then, we'll talk about them in a bit because
So
I'm all smiles about them.
yeah,
Right
so if we had to make a choice now, we keep doing this every week, say eventually we're gonna stop
now. I
making
know.
these predictions. Uh, if this goes bad, I think the Kings are going to get in there, and I think
I think
Vegas
the
might
Kings
just
will play 500 hockey and
yeah,
get into the
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah. It's possible. It's just
And if they are the second, well,
Another Oilers Kings first round.
if it could be, oh my God, if they could catch Vegas and like play the Oilers in the first round again, it would be great.
But that's the only way they.
But I
Yeah,
don't think that series is going 5, 6, 7 games though.
no, no. It's going to be the battle of who gets beaten by Anaheim in the second round.
Yeah,
Although Anaheim, well, they're 6-3-1, so they're not playing too terribly. Edmonton's played
no,
okay lately. They seem to have, even without Draisaitl, McDavid has put the team on his back a bit. Hyman's the third or fourth highest scoring player since the Christmas break. Um, yeah, it's going to be interesting down the stretch, but I'm still the East is way more exciting in terms of the races and the tightness of this thing, in terms
yeah,
of how many things can shift and change between all the divisions right now. Everything's up for grabs, really, except for the Metropolitan Division, where the Hurricanes
Carolina's,
seem to be
yeah,
so far out in top of everybody. Everything else is up for grabs. Like
yeah,
the Atlantic Division, all three positions, the wild card race is completely up for grabs, and there's four teams that could still grab one of those and could leapfrog and knock people out. It's so interesting in the East that, let's take Montreal, for example. They lose a game, they drop, from third in division. They could drop right out of the playoffs, right? So it's
yeah.
just
Well, not at this point.
not at this point, but,
Not after winning 5 in a row.
but the Penguins could. The Penguins
The
could drop.
Penguins could.
So could New York. New York did last week after we had this conversation. New York was on the outside looking in. Now they're second place in the Metropolitan Division. So it's so much
It
change that can
changes. It
happen.
changes so fast.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you talk about a second round matchup between Anaheim and Edmonton. Okay, that's a second round matchup in the NHL playoffs, the greatest hockey tournament on earth. The teams in that tournament should be beyond reproach.
Yeah.
They have given up the same number of goals this year as a team in their 73 and 74 games, respectively. There is only one team in the entire league that has given up more goals than those two teams that are going to the playoffs. Do you know who that team is?
In the playoffs?
No, one team in the whole league.
Oh, that's giving up more goals?
More goals than the Anaheim Ducks and the Edmonton Oilers.
It's the Rangers, probably.
It is the Toronto Maple
Toronto Maple Leafs. I just don't want to say my own Leafs. It's so bad.
Even
So
the
bad.
even the Rangers have given up nine fewer goals than those two
Well,
teams.
let's talk about the Leafs right now. And before we get to your Habs, I got some questions for you on the Habs.
Okay, yeah, you're
Let's
gonna
just
grill me
talk
this
about the
week on
Leafs
you're
for
gonna
a
grill me this
second.
week on the Habs because I'm always so conservative in
Yeah,
my
let's so
talk.
let
So
let's just talk about the Leafs for a second. I
okay,
have come around, and you and I have had this debate for weeks about what the Leafs should do this year, the rest of the season. I
yep,
have completely cemented myself in the opinion that it's time to throw the anchor. It's time to tank it up, and this is our best chance at keeping a top five pick in a draft that seemingly is deep in the first round of defensemen in the 2 to 10 slot, 2 to 6 slot, but our protection's only top five. So we got to drop, whether it's completely into the top five or lottery into the top five, and try and get
yep,
that slot because I think, you know, whatever you got to do is this is the best year to start to replenish that stockpile. And whoever we get, if we get, let's just say we get lucky, we get to the fifth spot and we
uh-huh,
claim a defenseman that has some pedigree. They're not going to be, um, Schaefer type pedigree, but that next level down could be that could help you next year. And you're not going to turn around. We're not going to be competitive next year, but at least 2 years from now, we're going to start to take those steps along with the other draft picks we've gotten in the second round and the third round that we could have. We're going to start to stockpile some players. You might get a player that can actually start next year, maybe still not make a big impact, but actually be in the lineup. But if we wait another year and we give Boston a top 10 pick or a 6 to 10 pick, we're going to caught in this rut that we're not going to get out of. And the deadline proved that there's not a lot of teams out there seeking the guys that we have on our roster, especially the guys we want to trade, like Riley, Ekman Larson, um, you know, Robertson, Domi. Those players are not highly sought after. The four guys that probably would give you the biggest return are the four guys you're not trading. You're not trading Matthews. You're not trading Nylander right now. You're not trading Nyes. You're not trading Cowan. The only thing that we could trade, probably the best asset after those four, is one of our three goaltenders. And we just signed another young goaltender to a contract. So it's likely one of those three are going to have to go. Hildeby, Wool, or Stolharts are probably going to have to go because all three of them next year would require waivers to go down to the minors. So you're going to carry all three goaltenders? Probably not. So you're going to have to offload somebody. Maybe that delivers you a really great asset or sets of assets or a draft pick. But I think it's time to tank. And I think that what Florida is doing is exactly that. They lost today 3-1 to the New York Rangers. And did you see they had an all-star line not playing?
yeah,
Reinhardt,
they're
Bennett,
tanking,
Rodriguez, Lundell. You tell me all four of those guys are injured? BS.
but they're tanking as a retool because they know they're getting Barkov back next year.
Yes, they're
But
not
so
losing
but
anybody next year.
they're
So
not
you're
losing
right to
anybody
your
next year, and
point.
they've done great cap management to be able to keep all of those people, and they can get a terrific draft pick in order to keep that going, and have one asset for the future because otherwise they don't have a first round pick until 2067. Like they've really just sort of emptied the cupboards. But the play for them is clear. The play for the Leafs is not clear, and this is what I was
I
grilling
disagree
you
with
about.
you. I
This is what
disagree
I
with
was
you.
grilling you about before because I the Leafs, at least publicly, and I think where you're coming out on it is a little bit more clear. But the Leafs are talking about a retool. And a retool means you do not keep a top five draft pick. You trade a top five draft pick either for a superstar player or a couple of very, very serviceable players, or you trade down to get a lower first round draft pick and a couple of seconds, and you start trading those assets away along with some of your players in hockey trades to improve your roster for next year because next year you want to make the playoffs and make some noise.
They're not. Look at even if they make the playoffs next year and they can turn it around a little bit, I still think they could do it by tanking this year, getting a draft pick, and doing some of what you're talking about by trading OEL, by trading Riley. They might have to scoop up some of his salary, trading a goaltender. I think they can still do that and keep this year's draft pick, because I think what you're suggesting is and trading young assets or taking a draft point, getting a higher draft choice, trading that for another draft choice or whatnot, is how they've gotten to this predicament now. They've
No,
traded
no,
away
what they've done
future assets, and
for
the guys they've
for
gotten in
veterans.
return have not worked.
Right. And what I'm saying is do what Montreal did. Stockpile some, trade away some assets to stockpile draft picks, and then trade those draft picks along with young prospects that have already proven themselves a little bit.
See, that, to me, that's a
And
retool as well, just a
and
retool under a different
so,
disguise.
okay,
I'm
so
not a
now
retool,
I've
a
cornered
rebuild
you.
under a different disguise.
Now I'm cornering you into saying this isn't a retool, this is a rebuild. And if this is a rebuild, then you have to seriously think about trading Austin Matthews.
I think that the conversation has to be had, but I think that if you get the top 5 pick this year, that top 5 pick seemingly, okay, you're right. It's not, has showcases that they have some future ability to help this team in maybe not next year to the degree that you need to be, but maybe the year after or the year after that. Then Matthews is going to go, okay, I can see if I can stick around here for 5 more years, I can see us being highly competitive again and doing some of the other things that you've talked about and bringing in other assets that we can be competitive.
But
And
who
I
cares
don't.
if he wants to do that?
But you're right. Part of the theory might have to be we trade him. But here's the issue of why they're not tanking this year. Is I think is why they're not tanking is that it's not clear from Leaf management, and I'm talking about MLSE management, Pelly and the people above him,
Yeah, by the
haven't
way,
given a
Pelly
clear.
coming out. By the way, Pelly coming out and saying, "I'm going to talk to people within the team
Oh,
and
he's been
people
talking to
within
them all
around the
season. Yeah,
league." It's like, why don't you just
duh.
walk around? Why don't you go walk around and tell people you don't know anything about hockey?
Yeah,
Like what a dumb statement that was. And I'm sure Keith's a great guy, and
yeah,
I'm
he's a
sure,
great guy.
yeah. But
But
like, wow, that was just a tone
he,
deaf type of thing to say to the
well,
Toronto
he's just scrambling
hockey.
at this point but the problem is that nobody seems to know, and Berube is sitting there going, I don't know I know the writing's on the wall. I'm going to be gone, so I'm not doing you any favors and tanking and pulling guys out of the lineup and whatnot. And Trey Levin's obviously not telling him to do that because he's not getting the word from the above that he's going to be safe. So he doesn't want to tank because if he ends up losing his job in the offseason, he wants to finish the season strong to say, hey, look, this team wasn't that bad. It wasn't just me. I just didn't kill this team. There was other factors around it.
No,
So
he killed the team and killed himself by saying some of the things he said to the press. If I'm
yes,
a general manager, and I'm not, but if I'm a general manager, anybody who says I don't know what happened, you better ask the guys on the team.
absolutely.
Never hiring that guy.
No,
Never hiring that
no.
guy
It's been a
because you will
disaster.
never get the trust of your players that way.
The slate needs to be cleared. You can't let Trey Levin or Berube go through the draft and start down this next path because the team that Trey Levin put together that I think Berube wanted, there was 2 problems for it. The players that he got didn't fit that system, although he
Yep.
thought they did, or 2, the players that were already there didn't want to play that system, and it's quite clearly they haven't played that system. So, this team was supposed to be harder to play against.
But we're the biggest team in the league.
Biggest team in the league. They turned out to be the slowest team and the worst team in their own end. So I know people have laid it at the feet a little bit of a goaltending. The goaltending's not been that bad. It's actually been pretty good considering they've spent more time in their own zone than any other team in the league. And the amount of high percentage shots from high goal percentage areas of the ice they've dead last in that spot in terms of giving it up. So you can't lay this at the feet of the goaltending. This has been just a complete structural team, personnel, cultural, call it what you want, disaster. End of
Yep.
story, period. Let's move on.
Yep.
Let's get to the Habs.
Okay, let's get to
Let's
the
talk
Habs.
about a happy slot because it might come down to the Habs and the Oilers of Canada bringing back the Stanley Cup. So let's
Yeah.
try and get the Habs there. I got a
Okay.
question for you that I've asked you every week, and every week your answer changes.
No,
Playoffs start tomorrow.
well, my my answer has changed. I know what question you're coming with. My answer has changed, but what you thought the answer should be has never been the answer I've
Right.
given you. So ask me the question again.
So playoffs start tomorrow. Who's starting in net? Now let's remind everybody that 2 months ago I said this to you. You said Montembeault. Montembeault hasn't played since then. Then the last time I asked you, you said Fowler because Fowler was playing great and he's still playing well when he's in there. Dobish, all of a sudden, rookie goaltender, now has 25 wins on the season, set the rookie record for Montreal, beating Carey Price's 24 games in a rookie season. Who's starting for your Habs in the playoffs in game one?
Okay, so I feel like one of our few
Do you have tap
listeners.
shoes on? Because I
I
feel like
don't.
you're gonna start tap
I'm
dancing.
not tapping. I'm actually. I feel like one of our listeners might might be a writer or a commentator for the Canadians because ever since I said that Jakob Dobas seemed fragile to me, every piece of press I've read about the guy has been like since they fired the old goaltender coach and brought the guy up from Laval, his mental makeup has been fantastic. He's tough as nails. Nothing gets through his skull. He's like, he's
When you win
mentally tough
five in
as
a
they
row and
come.
you're 7-3 in the last 10, that can help.
That helps. And look, he looks like a different goaltender out there. And, I'm not an expert in these things, but he's not flopping around that much. He's not all over the place. He doesn't react as much when he gets jostled. He just seems like a calmer. Now he's not Fowler. Fowler looks like Price out there. Like his economy of movement
Even Price has
is,
come out and said Fowler reminds himself of a young myself,
yeah, like
young
Fowler.
self.
Fowler, his just the way he moves is so efficient, but Dobas is getting a lot more like that. I think that whatever coaching he's
Maybe they're
getting has
rubbing
been
off on each other.
fantastic. They're rubbing off on each other. Uh, I don't know how you don't start Jakub Dobas in that games 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatever in the playoffs unless something happens.
Well, you got nine
He's
games left to make that decision, but the
yeah,
question is, if it
but
starts tomorrow, you're starting Dobish.
but
Can
the
we add a
game
fourth
against
goaltender to this
Carolina.
rotation? Because I feel in 9 games that your answer could change to that
No, it's
goaltender.
not gonna. It's not gonna change. It's not gonna change. Dobish is my guy at this point, and here's the reason why. And it wasn't just because he had a 41 save performance against Carolina the other night. It was that he gave up 2 early goals. Neither of them were his fault, but he gave up 2 early goals, and it was a barrage. Like it did. The shots 10 minutes into the first period were like 12-2 for, and every once in a while you just see a goalie get comfortable with a couple more pucks hitting their body, and then you just sort of feel like, yeah, he may not give up another one.
Well,
And
tonight's
he
another perfect
didn't.
example against Carolina. They got outshot 35-18, 1-3-1. He was brilliant tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. He
So
was really, really good. He was really, really. So since they're, let's just call a spade, since they're shitty games against the Pacific teams that had no business beating them a couple weekends ago, they've won 5 games in a row and they haven't given up more than 3 goals in any of them. They have, and it's not just the goaltending. They
yeah,
have really tightened up. It has been very obvious that they're making good decisions in 2 places, although one of them a little bit more than the other. They're they're chipping out and first pass attempts at their own blue line are getting much better. They're not they're not making the same types of decisions they were to try to make a pass for a breakout. If it's not there, they're chipping it out. And the same goes, I think, for the other blue line when they're not pitching as much, although Lane Hudson has developed a couple of bad habits, but I'm not ever going to complain about Lane Hudson
yeah, you started
under any
to. You started
circumstances.
to.
Um, on the other thing that they are doing much, much better is they are, and when they were playing poorly defensively, they were making terrible reads coming back into the zone and just leaving players, the trailers uncovered. A lot like what the Leafs have been doing all season. They've
If we could
really,
ever get out of the zone.
Yeah, they've really cleaned that up, and they've done a really good job of tracking players coming back into the zone. And then finally, the thing that I love that they're doing defensively is, uh, and I don't pretend to be an expert enough to know why sometimes this goes well and sometimes this doesn't, but they are coming out of the corners with pucks on a more regular basis than they were before. Like
They're
it
winning puck
seemed
battles.
but not just winning the puck battles. They're winning the puck battles with control. Like a lot of times you can win a puck battle by
Yeah,
just chipping it up the boards or chipping it behind the net.
yeah, they're taking
They're like
control.
they're taking control and making a quick pass. It's that, that small areas game that
Yep.
Marty St. Louis loves to talk about that they're excelling at right now. And then the other thing that needs to be said, um, is that in the last few games, the the former second line and now again second line of Newhook back from injury, Kapanen and Davidoff have been unbelievable, and especially in the game yesterday against Nashville, it was like watching a junior AAA team play a Pee Wee team in the offensive zone. The way they were passing the puck and moving into open space and essentially keep away until a perfect shooting opportunity came across was mesmerizing. And it pissed off UC Saros so much. He was getting so upset. Like every goal he gave up, he was whacking his stick across the goalpost because these guys were alone. They were
Yeah.
every time they got a shot off on him, there was nobody within 5 feet of them because these guys were just
Yep.
sticking and moving, sticking and moving. It was beautiful to watch.
Okay.
And if
Sorry.
Demidov continues to play the way he's playing
He's been
now,
fantastic year.
look, he's not winning the Calder,
No.
but he could he could be,
He,
like a top five scorer in the
yeah,
playoffs if they move
he's in
far
the
enough.
conversation for the Calder, but I think
No, it's Schaefer's. It's
Schaefer's done this
Schaefer's.
year, and Senekny,
Seneke.
Seneke, sorry, and
Seneca. It's Seneca. Beckett
Seneke.
Seneca. Yeah, you're going to
Seneke.
have trouble with that one for
Yeah,
a decade.
he's fantastic, and he's had a great season. So it's coming down to the three of them in my mind. But here's another question for you.
Okay.
With the playoff positioning currently and the points races where they are,
Yep.
there's likely only three teams that the Habs could likely face in the playoffs.
Yep.
Buffalo, Tampa Bay, in the first round I'm talking about. Buffalo, Tampa Bay,
Yep.
or Carolina. You
Yep.
just beat Carolina again tonight,
Yep.
and you've now swept the series 3-0 on them on the year. Who do you wish for in the first round of the playoffs?
Anybody but Tampa.
Anybody but Tampa. Why?
Anybody but Tampa.
Why?
Because Vasilevsky can steal a series.
He could. Here's the
Vasilevsky can steal a series, and there's something about. I mean, Kucherov is Kucherov. He's like a top three player in the world.
And they
But
missed Kucherov today, and they won. They also missed. They don't have Hedman right now.
they don't have Hedman, and whatever he's going through, I
Yeah,
hope
let's hope it's okay.
I hope he's okay, and his family's okay. Because when they say personal reasons, it
Yeah,
often
it's generally a
involves
family
family
issue.
thing. Yeah, but there's the guy who scares me the most in that team in the playoffs, other than Vasilevsky, because he scares me the most, is Braden Point. The guy just finds a way in the biggest moments to do things. And so, with all of the playoff experience that team has against a team like the Canadians, who have got 5 games of playoff experience essentially, other than when they went to the finals with a few of the players that they have now,
Right.
uh, they make me the most nervous.
Well,
I think Buffalo is an excellent team. They're a big team. They are an extremely confident team, and they've added a lot on D at the deadline. So
yeah.
you got to be worried about them. But I think Montreal's speed could be a problem for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Here's two other. I'm going to make one other comment, and I'm sure you don't want this to happen. We don't have a discussion on it because it's an interesting thought. If you want to avoid Tampa Bay, whether that's the first round or the second round, there's a way to do it. You guys drop to a wild card spot and end up playing Carolina in the first round. You end up in that likely the first wild card spot. If we think Tampa Bay is going to win the East,
Yep.
Carolina comes second. You play Carolina in the first round. If you can beat them, then you stick in the Metro Division for the second round. You play, if it was right now, it'd be
New
New York
York or
Islanders,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, or the Jackets. So that could be a more interesting way for the Habs. You don't want them to teeter with not making the playoffs and drop to the wild card, but that could be an interesting path for them, an easier path than having to play Buffalo or Tampa Bay back to back. Or
Absolutely.
in
But
either order that happens to happen.
absolutely. And that is stuff for you and me to talk about.
Yes.
But I can guarantee you
Yeah.
that Martin St. Louis would
Doesn't want that
prefer
to happen.
doesn't want that to
No,
happen.
I guarantee.
He wants them to win every game between now and the end of the
Absolutely.
year and go into the playoffs, firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely.
And so what he has the team thinking of is, look, we may not catch Buffalo or Tampa,
Yeah.
but there's nothing wrong with trying.
Absolutely. Keep hot. We've talked about this. You want to go into the
Yes, you want to go into
playoffs
the playoffs hot.
riding a high and playing well. You don't want to have self doubt. But you brought up an interesting topic because Tampa Bay could be really dangerous in the playoffs. The only other team that's had the volume of injuries that the Florida has is actually Tampa Bay because they've gone long stretches this year without Hedman. They've gone long stretches without Vasilevsky. Kucherov has had some injury problems. Braden Point has had injury problems. Um, uh, what's his face that was supposed to be on Team Canada had injuries, but they've lost
Hagel,
a. Sorry,
Hagel.
Hagel lost. They've lost a lot of man games to injuries for top six players, top goaltender, top defenseman. We've talked about the Jack Adams Coach of the Year award and handing it to Lindy Ruff or to Bonus. I think you got to put Cooper in that discussion because what he's done in keeping this team competitive and playing in the Eastern Division where it's been so tight and so competitive, maybe Cooper needs to be thrown into that discussion.
I think, and I don't think what I'm about to say is terribly controversial. Regardless of how good or not quite as good Tampa might be every year, any year, any year in which John Cooper is not a finalist for the Coach of the Year, the Jack Adams Award is a travesty.
Right.
He is
He's fantastic.
he is the best coach in hockey,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's particularly close.
No.
His players love him for the amount of time that he's been doing it. For him to still have the ear of that room and the blind loyalty of his players
It's fantastic.
is fantastic. And by the way, he doesn't do it through fear. He's not a Scotty
No.
Bowman type. Like,
He picks and chooses his spots where to go nuclear. You
yeah,
see it sometimes behind the bench and he's gone nuclear and you go, you know what? That was the right spot. That was the right time. He needed
yeah.
to do that. But you're right. He's a thinking man's coach. He's methodical. He always has the respect of the players. He always seems to push the right buttons at the right time. And you're right. He needs to be in that conversation. And I'm still
And he's the
giving it
best.
to
He's
I'm
the
still
best
giving
coach
it to Ruff
interview.
or to Bonus because of
Bonus.
what they've done. But he's got to be at the top. He's got to be in that top three right now with what he's done with that team when the injuries they've had this year to keep them as competitive they are and likely the best team in the East or one of the three best teams in the East. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Cooper is also the best interview of any coach in
Yes.
the league.
Well,
So,
Maurice is pretty good from a fun
yeah,
perspective.
that's true. I don't want to
He's
forget
got
about
some good
Maurice.
quibs there. He comes out with some good lines.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Did Maurice like break a record of most or pass somebody in the career
Yeah,
wins
there's
thing this week?
a
He's
thousand
like in
wins. Yeah.
he's like in the third place now in
Yeah.
all-time wins or
Quinville's
something.
also gone over a record as well this week. So,
Yeah, he
but
got 1,000 wins or something this
yeah,
week. Good for
yeah,
him.
yeah.
All
So,
right. Well, I think we got to wrap it up.
yeah, I
We
think so.
are.
The one thing, well, we always sort of talk about what you're looking forward to this week. I'm going to go first because
Okay.
I'm looking forward to Monday night's game, the Leafs in Anaheim. First game facing Anaheim since
Gudis
the
is playing.
Gudis' hit on Matthews. Now, there's some interesting twists to this whole thing for tomorrow night.
Yep.
Gudis on Saturday didn't play because on Friday night he got hurt and hurt his ankle, and he was seen in a walking boot. However, on Sunday, he came out in social media and in the press and said, I don't care what my state is, I'm answering the bell and I'm playing this game.
Good for him.
So, which is great for him. It's going to be interesting to see what Leaf, if he's now Anaheim, obviously in the position they are for the playoffs, challenging to win the Pacific, the team might have a different point of view. He's our captain. He's one of our top 4 defensemen. We need him healthy and rested for the playoffs. We don't need him
No. He's
doing
got to
something
answer
stupid.
the bell. Who challenges
But
him?
if you're the coach or you're the management of that team, do you let him go do that? Who cares what he had his
No.
whether we believe or not the suspension was rightful? Do you send him out there to do this? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You can't hamstring your team psychologically by not letting him do that.
Because
the question is, who on the Leafs is going to do it?
Well, I think Pacetta is going to get his dress, and it's going to.
You're going to dress Pacetta?
Oh, you're dressing Pacetta. There's no question he's not dressing. If Gudas is in the lineup, Pacetta is dressing, and Pacetta is going to be the one.
By the way,
after
Pacetta
him.
was a Canadian. Loved him when the Canadian. Loved him when he dropped the gloves. Loved him when he got into the dirty stuff on the ice, and gave him the grit and waved to the crowd and blah blah blah. But as a fighter, the dude's a tomato can, and he's going to get his ass kicked by.
At this point, it's not about.
It's just
winning
showing
it or not. It's a show because I think since the Matthews hit, the Leafs have understood the issue. They've got Riley's gone after somebody for running wall. Cowan went after Zadorov in Boston for running, which was a dirty hit, by the way, and should have been suspendable on Tavares. So they've answered that bell. It's going to be interesting to see. Now the point is, will it be one guy going after him, or we have to fight multiple times? Is it one and done?
It's just one and done.
It
starts to look ridiculous after one.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then the Leafs look like
the Leafs have nothing to lose, though.
Yeah, but the Leafs look. If you do it more than once, then you look like you're performing.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm looking forward to this week. Tomorrow night, Monday night. What are you looking forward to?
To me, it's easy. It's Tuesday against the Canadians are in Tampa. That's what I'm looking forward to. They come out of that with their 6th win in a row. I'm starting to get a little excited.
Look at that. When's my hat showing up, by the way?
Am
I going to have it for next weekend?
You'll have it for the playoffs.
There we go.
You'll have the hat for the playoffs.
Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. I'm sure we'll be on all over, texting back and forth and watching. And we'll see you next week on the Aiming 5-0 podcast when we make new predictions. Have a good week, Brian.
Just revising all the ones we got wrong.
Have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
This is hockey, the heart of the